This is Michael Faulkner, and it's showtime in the May 15th, 2012 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by the Chronic Rift. Starting with the box office report, this weekend's rundown kicks off with number 10 and Safe, down 3 from 7th. Holding steady at number 9 is Chimpanzee. Jumping up to number 8 from last week's 16th place is The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. In 7th is The Pirates, Band of Misfits, down 3 from 4th. In 6th place is The 5-Year Engagement, holding steady from last week. At 5th we have The Lucky One, with an additional $4.1 million and a new total of $53.8 million. In 4th place is last week's 3rd, The Hunger Games, adding $4.5 million for a total of $387 million. It currently holds the number 1 spot for the 2012 domestic earnings, but will lose that title in mere days to this week's winner. In 3rd place is last week's runner-up, Think Like a Man, cashing in $5.8 million to bring the comedy to $81.4 million overall. In 2nd is new release Dark Shadows, cheesing it up with $29.7 million. That disappointing figure is a mere fraction of another recent Johnny Depp and Tim Burton collaboration, Alice in Wonderland, which earned $116.1 million opening weekend. It also fell behind Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which took in $56.2 million, and Sleepy Hollow, which made $30.1 million. It did beat Sweeney Todd's $9.3 million, however. Contributing to the box office problems are the facts that vampire movies don't usually perform well, and the second weekend in May is usually a tough sell. Dark Shadows is also a lesser-known property to the public at large, and the movie had to also contend with a rather large hulking shadow in the number 1 spot. For the second week, the winner was The Avengers, taking in another $103.1 million for a new total of $373.1 million. The Avengers continues to smash records, taking the best second weekend ever, becoming the fastest movie to reach $300 million and $350 million, and taking the highest 8-day, 9-day, and 10-day grosses. The Avengers now ranks 18th on the all-time domestic charts. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what was winning in the years gone by. 5 years ago in 2007, Spider-Man 3 fell to an ogre. Shrek the Third took number 1 with $121.6 million. Shrek the Third beat Shrek 2's record of $108 million for the highest weekend debut for an animated film. 10 years ago in 2002, Spider-Man was defeated by Star Wars Episode II Attack of the Clones with $80 million. In 1992, Basic Instinct ended its run with some help from Riggs and Murtaugh. Lethal Weapon 3 took number 1 with $33.2 million. 30 years ago in 1982, Conan the Barbarian held number 1 with $6.9 million. And 40 years ago in 1972, The Godfather returned to number 1 after a week off, reclaiming the top spot after 9 weeks in release and $4.7 million on the week. The box office premieres for the week of May 18th are taking aim on the Avengers Helicarrier, and the first one calls I-3. That one's Battleship, a sci-fi thriller starring Alexander Skarsgård, Brooklyn Decker, and Liam Neeson.
Sir, you may want to come take a look at this.
Where did we find it?
Just fished him right out of the water.
Warning red. Weapons tight. I want everything loaded.
What the?
The debris field from this, it's gonna cover the entire hemisphere.
It's still unclear exactly what it was that hit Hong Kong.
Oh my God.
Why didn't they just kill us all?
What the hell are you doing to us?
Those ships could do this. What do you think 50 can do, or 500,000?
We're looking at a global extinction event.
What are your orders? We're not going down without a fight.
Oh.
A fleet of ships is forced to do battle with an armada of unknown origins in order to discover and thwart their destructive goals. Battleship is rated PG-13. The next wide release to take aim this week is What to Expect When You're Expecting, a comedic drama starring Cameron Diaz, Matthew Morrison, and J. Todd Smith.
I just wanted the glow. The one that they promised you on the cover of those magazines. Well, I'm calling it. Pregnancy sucks. Making a human being is really hard. I have no control over my body or my emotions. Scare Bear, I'm sorry. All I want to do is punch you in the face.
Relax, don't do it. We reserve the deluxe suite.
This is your father.
Husband, he's my husband. A lot of people say that.
I thought you said cute, Marshall, not hot.
Well done, Rosie. Well done.
You said I was cute?
Dude, she's totally doing him.
I knew I was gonna have a rack this gorgeous. I would have gotten knocked up years ago.
We're gonna be a family.
Dudes group. You want Alex ready? Send him to the dudes.
Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. To the honeys getting money, playing fellas like dummies.
You drop your kid on a changing table?
Stuff just happens, okay? Last week, my kid ate a cigarette.
I caught him playing in the dryer yesterday.
I picked up the wrong baby from daycare.
Found my baby swimming in the toilet. No judging.
Breast is best.
Yes! I was breastfed myself till I was 6, and look how good I turned out.
Look at her. She's wearing 6-inch heels.
Oh, she's like a magical pregnancy unicorn.
What to expect when you're expecting.
I look at houses with Holly, but we're not buying one.
Bro, when your wife says you're just looking at houses, you're buying a house.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are.
I'm not buying a house.
Oh, check your receipts.
Welcome to escrow, bitch.
What to Expect When You're Expecting is a look at love through the eyes of 5 interconnected couples, experiencing the thrills and surprises of having a baby, and ultimately coming to understand the universal truth that no matter what you plan for, life doesn't always deliver what's expected. What to Expect When You're Expecting is rated PG-13. The next wide release this week is The Dictator, a comedy starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Anna Faris, and Ben Kingsley.
For over 4 decades, the people have lived under the rule of a tyrant who denies them their most basic human rights.
The time has come for him to step aside.
We must keep on with the NATO mission and bring him to justice.
I am for free press, fair elections, and equal rights for women. I can't say that.
On your mark. Get set.
Supreme Leader, the United Nations demands that you come to New York and address them.
Fine. We are going to America.
Admiral General, welcome to New York City. And while you're here, I highly recommend a visit to the Empire State Building before you or one of your cousins takes it down. Rise and shine. Nobody's gonna recognize you without this.
Is there any way you could lend me some money? Maybe $20 million.
I'm here to deliver my speech to the United Nations.
Look, it's too hot for crazy.
Come on me! Could you please take your hands off my breasts?
Those are breasts? I thought you were a boy. I accept your job offer as general manager.
Well, you can't be the manager because I'm the manager.
Well, I can if I killed you.
Okay, well. Hey, can we take out the garbage?
Stop that.
Shut up, loser.
Hey, hairnet. Kind of need you to hurry up. Chop, chop. Next.
This is the plan. We're just 2 ordinary American tourists.
I love being an American.
إلا وحواني لو فويش مش Empire State Building
ولا سيبنا سيدنا بس هو عشان نعمل ستاتيو اوف ليبرتي. ايوه
the floor, make me wanna.
This is the heroic story of a dictator who risks his life to ensure that democracy would never come to the country he so lovingly oppressed. The Dictator is rated R. And the last wide release this week is Hysteria, a comedy starring Maggie Gyllenhaal, Hugh Dancy, and Jonathan Pryce.
Morning, Mrs. Parsons.
Good morning, Doctor.
Tell me, what do you know of hysteria? Nothing. In its most severe forms, it demands drastic measures. Good, steady pressure, that's the key. I'm keen for help. Thank you.
Oh, come on!
Not enough hands to do the work.
I have been offered a position by London's leading specialist in women's medicine.
Oh, gosh. Good God, man. What a grip.
It is strictly a medical treatment that stimulates the nervous system. Oh.
Who is she?
She's his daughter.
It's a very difficult case, that one.
It must be difficult pleasuring half the women in the city.
Pleasure has nothing to do with it, I can assure you.
I suppose that depends on whether you're over the table or on it. Bye!
Isn't she a Chinese firecracker?
I must find some way to attend to these women properly.
I believe the French had quite a bit of luck using their tongues. No. My new generator.
My God. Makes you all warm and tingly.
Bugger. Now, who should we try it on?
We are not going to take a dangerous electrical device and press it against a lady's most gentle areas. Are you hurt?
No. Oh, right there. What do you call that little thing?
Well, I was calling it the feather duster.
But I think of something quick, so the girl knows what to ask for. There is a social revolution afoot! Women will no longer be denied our rightful place.
This is my electrical assistant. Everything all right, Mrs. Castellari?
What about the squealer?
You have invented a machine that does harm to no one and makes anyone who comes into contact with it feel better.
Do you think it'll catch on?
I have no idea, but imagine if everyone had one.
Hysteria is the true story of how Mortimer Granville devised the invention of the first vibrator in the name of medical science. Hysteria is rated R. This week also has one limited title coming to box offices. That's Elena, a drama starring Nadezhda Markina, Andrei Smirnov, and Alexei Rosin. When a sudden illness and unexpected reunion threaten dutiful housewife Elena's potential inheritance, she must hatch a desperate plan. Elena is not rated and opens in New York City. Next up, we'll take a look at the home entertainment options for the week of May 15th. We start, as always, with the new releases on DVD and Blu-ray, and those kick off with The Grey, a drama starring Liam Neeson, Dermot Mulroney, and Frank Grillo. After their plane crashes in Alaska, 7 oil workers are led by a skilled huntsman to survival, but a pack of merciless wolves haunts their every step. The Grey is rated R. The next title on the list is Chronicle, a drama starring Dane DeHaan, Alex Russell, and Michael B. Jordan. 3 high school friends gain superpowers after making an incredible discovery. Soon, though, they find their lives spinning out of control and their bond tested as they embrace their darker sides. Chronicle is rated PG-13. Next up, we have One for the Money, a crime comedy starring Katherine Heigl, Jason O'Mara, and Daniel Sunta. Unemployed and newly divorced Stephanie Plum lands a job at her cousin's bail bond business, where her first assignment puts her on the trail of a wanted local cop from her romantic past. One for the Money is rated PG-13. The next title on the list is The Devil Inside, a horror film starring Fernanda Andrade, Simon Quarterman, and Evan Helmuth. In Italy, a woman becomes involved in a series of unauthorized exorcisms during her mission to discover what happened to her mother, who allegedly murdered 3 people during her own exorcism. The Devil Inside is rated R. And the last title on this part of the list is Albert Nobbs, a drama starring Glenn Close, Mia Wasikowska, and Aaron Johnson. Albert Nobbs struggles to survive in late 19th century Ireland, where women aren't encouraged to be independent. Posing as a man, so she can work as a butler in Dublin's most posh hotel, Albert meets a handsome painter and looks to escape the lie she's been living. Albert Nobbs is rated R. Next up, we'll take a look at the releases coming from TV to DVD and Blu-ray. The first is Hell on Wheels, the complete first season, starring Anson Mount, Common, Colm Meaney, and Wes Studi. Set in 1865, the series centers on the settlement that accompanied the construction of the first transcontinental railroad, referred to as Hell on Wheels by the company men, surveyors, support workers, laborers, prostitutes, mercenaries, and others who make the mobile encampment their home. Blood will be spilled, lives will be lost, men will be ruined. The next title this week is Flashpoint, the 4th season, starring Mark Taylor, Hugh Dillon, Amy Jo Johnson, Enrico Colantoni, and Michael Cram. Flashpoint is a drama which depicts the emotional journey into the tough, risk-filled lives of a group of cops in the SRU, which is inspired by Toronto's Emergency Task Force. It's a unique unit that rescues hostages, busts gangs, defuses bombs, climbs the sides of buildings, and talks down suicidal teens. Members of a highly skilled tactical team are also trained in negotiating, profiling, and getting inside the suspect's head to defuse the situation to try to save lives. And the last TV on DVD release this week is Hazel, the complete 3rd season, starring Shirley Booth. Long before wisecracking maids Alice, Florida, or Florence, there was Hazel. Based on the Saturday Evening Post cartoons, this popular TV series centers around Hazel, a take-charge maid who works for the Baxter family. George Baxter is the head of the family, which consists of his wife, Dorothy, and their son, Harold. It's very clear that Hazel runs the household and often preempts George's authority in very amusing ways. And last, we'll round out the home entertainment releases with Blu-rays from the past. The first title is a 2-pack. That's Father of the Bride, the 20th Anniversary Edition, a pair of comedies starring Steve Martin, Diane Keaton, and Martin Short. The first is Father of the Bride from 1991. In this remake of the Spencer Tracy classic, George and Nina Banks are the parents of young, soon-to-be-wed Annie. George is a nervous father, unready to face the fact that his little girl is now a woman. Father of the Bride is rated PG. The other title is Father of the Bride Part 2 from 1995. George Banks must accept the reality of what his daughter's ascension from daughter to wife, and now to mother, means when placed in the perspective against his own stage of life. As a comfortable family unit starts to unravel in his mind, a rapid progression into midlife crisis is in his future. His journey to regain his youth acts as a catalyst for a kind of rebirth of his attitude on life when he and his wife Nina find out how their lives are about to change as well. Father of the Bride Part 2 is rated PG. The next title is Being John Malkovich, coming to the Criterion Collection, a comedic drama from 1999 starring John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, and Catherine Keener. A puppeteer discovers a portal that leads literally into the head of the movie star, John Malkovich. Being John Malkovich is rated R. The next title this week is 1900, a historical drama from 1976 starring Robert De Niro, Gerard Depardieu, and Dominique Sanda. Set in Italy, the film follows the lives and interactions of 2 boys, one born a bastard of pleasant stock, the other born to a landowner. The drama spans from 1900 to about 1945 and focuses mainly on the rise of fascism and the peasants' eventual reaction by supporting communism, and how these events shape the destinies of the 2 main characters. 1900 is rated R. Next, we take a look at The Odessa File, a drama from 1974 starring John Voight, Maximilian Schell, and Maria Schell. After reading the diary of an elderly Jewish man who committed suicide, freelance journalist Peter Miller begins to investigate the alleged sighting of a former SS captain who commanded a concentration camp during World War II. The Odessa File is rated PG. The next release is called New York Stories, a drama from 1989 starring Woody Allen, Nick Nolte, and Rosanna Arquette. A middle-aged artist obsessed with his pretty young assistant, a precocious 12-year-old living in a hotel, and a neurotic lawyer with a possessive mother make up 3 stories in this anthology. New York Stories is rated PG. The next title is a 3-pack, that's Walking Tall, the Trilogy, a series of dramas starring Joe Don Baker, Bo Svensson, Elizabeth Hartman, and Leif Garrett. These are based on the life of Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusser, whom almost single-handedly cleaned up his small town of crime and corruption, but at a personal cost to his family life and nearly his own life. These titles include Walking Tall from 1973, which is rated R, Walking Tall Part 2 from 1975, which is rated PG, and Final Chapter Walking Tall from 1977, which is rated R. The next title is White Squall, a drama from 1996 starring Jeff Bridges, Carolyn Goodall, and John Savage. Teenage boys discover discipline and camaraderie on an ill-fated sailing voyage. White Squall is rated PG-13. Next is DOA, a mystery thriller from 1988 starring Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan, and Charlotte Rampling. Dexter Cornell, an English professor, becomes embroiled in a series of murders involving people around him. Dexter has good reason to want to find the murderer, but hasn't much time. He finds help and comfort from one of his students, Sidney Fuller. DOA is rated R. Next up, we have Gone Fishin', a crime comedy from 1997 starring Joe Pesci, Danny Glover, and Rosanna Arquette. 2 fishing fanatics get in trouble when their fishing boat gets stolen while on a trip. Gone Fishin' is rated PG. And the final title this week is Bringing Down the House, the 10th Anniversary Edition, a comedy from 2003 starring Steve Martin, Queen Latifah, and Eugene Levy. When a lonely guy meets a woman on the internet who happens to be in prison, she breaks out to be with him and proceeds to wreak havoc on his middle-class life. Bringing Down the House is rated PG-13. We'll stop here for a short break, but the Weekly Podioplex will continue after this message.
Good Lord, is there no end to these lost cases?
We did make a dent.
A dent? Welly, it's more like we're trying to lower the Thames a teaspoon at a time.
But consider what we have learned in the process and what new mysteries await us. Here's the case of a mythical creature of Siam coming to the aid of the ministry. Here's another set in your native country of New Zealand that tells of an ancient holy man waking a dragon. And here is an intriguing case of a strange series of heists corresponding with a traveling festival.
Well, since you put it that way, let us proceed. Testing.
Miss Braun, exactly what are you intending to do with that micro? Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
We have talked about this.
And now we're going to podcast it.
Again?
Again.
Tales from the Archives, Volume 2.
The second season of the award-nominated podcast from Pip Ballantyne and T. Morris.
Subscribe for free through iTunes or at the Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences website.
Or visit the Kindle store at Amazon.com, the Nook store at BarnesandNoble.com, or Smashwords.com for 99-cent editions of these original shorts.
Find out more at ministryofpeculiaroccurrences.com.
Welcome back. Next up, we're going to take a look at the Netflix streaming new releases for the week of May 13th to May 19th. May 13th has no titles, but May 14th has one. That's Scar, a horror thriller from 2007 starring Angela Bettis, Kirby Bliss Blanton, and Ben Cotton. Joan Burrows returns to her hometown for her niece's graduation, only to be confronted by the serial killer she thought was offed years ago, after he kidnapped and tormented her and her best friend. Scar is rated R. May 15th is a big day for releases on Netflix. There are about 30 titles. I'm not going to cover them all. They'll be in the show notes, but I'll give you a sampling. The first title I want to look at is Coach, a series from 1989 to 1997 starring Craig T. Nelson, Jerry Van Dyke, and Shelley Fabares. Hayden Fox is the head coach of a university football team and eats, sleeps, and lives football. His partner, however, does not share his passion for the sport, which frequently causes friction in their relationship. While Hayden often fits the stereotype of dumb jock, as do his coworkers Luther and Dauber, he sincerely cares about his friends and family and tries his best to make things work out. The next title is The Karate Kid Part 2, a family action film from 1986 starring Pat Morita, Ralph Macchio, and Pat E. Johnson. Daniel accompanies his mentor to Okinawa, who is off to see his dying father and confront his old rival, while Daniel inadvertently makes an enemy of his own. The Karate Kid Part 2 is rated PG. The next title is London Boulevard, a crime drama from 2010 starring Colin Farrell, Keira Knightley, and Ray Winstone. An ex-con is hired to look after a reclusive young actress and finds himself falling in love, which puts him in direct confrontation with one of London's most vicious gangsters. London Boulevard is rated R. The next title is Dragon Slayer, an adventure film from 2011 starring Peter McNichol, Caitlin Clark, and Ralph Richardson. A young wizarding apprentice is sent to kill a dragon which has been devouring girls from a nearby kingdom. Dragon Slayer is rated PG. May 15th also holds 4 titles from the IMAX film collection. Most of them are nature titles. May 16th has 2 titles as well. The first is Pan Singh Tomar, a biography from 2010 starring Mai Gill, Rajendra Gupta, and Imran Hasni. This is a biopic of Pan Singh Tomar, an Indian athlete drafted by the army who became notorious. Pan Singh Tomar is not rated. The second title on May 16th is Drive, a drama starring Ryan Gosling, Carey Mulligan, and Bryan Cranston. A mysterious Hollywood stuntman, mechanic, and getaway driver lands himself in trouble when he helps out his neighbor. Drive is rated R. There are no new titles for May 17th or May 18th, but May 19th has 2 titles. The first is Gainsbourg, A Heroic Life, a biography from 2010 starring Eric El Mocino, Lucy Gordon, and Letitia Costa. This is a glimpse of the life of a French singer named Serge Gainsbourg, From growing up in 1940s Nazi-occupied Paris through his successful songwriting years in the 1960s to his death in 1991 at the age of 62. Gainsbourg's heroic life is not rated. And the last title on Netflix this week is Splintered, a horror thriller from 2010 starring Stephen Walters, Holly Weston, and Sacha Dhawan. Somewhere prowling in the darkest corner of a desolate, abandoned building on the edge of a wilderness is a dangerous animal. It's a human animal that lives by the rules of the wild, where survival is the only concern. Sophie, a teenager with a troubled past, strays into the abandoned building on a dare. Of course she does. They always do that. She discovers what it's like to become the object of this animal's obsessive desire when she's locked in an isolated room where no one can hear her screams. Splintered is not rated. And now I wrap this up with two short items in the Quick Flicks, and they're both related to the Avengers. After 19 days in release, the Avengers joined the elite ranks of the $1 billion Club, hitting 11th on the worldwide charts. It's forecasted to reach 4th worldwide next weekend, which would place the blockbuster behind Avatar, Titanic, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. The Avengers is Disney's 5th billion-dollar movie, following the successes of Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, Toy Story 3, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, and Alice in Wonderland. No other studio has more than 2 billion-dollar movies to their name. A sequel for the film has already been greenlit. Meanwhile, the second part, the success of the Avengers had led to another success in a different market. Because of 2 lines and 2 scenes in the movie, restaurants from coast to coast are experiencing increased sales in the Middle Eastern food known as shawarma. In the flick, Tony Stark riffs on the food, and now major cities who have restaurants serving shawarma are experiencing sellouts. You know, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, or share your favorite shawarma place, yum, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to chronicriff.com and leave a note in the forums. You can leave a voicemail at 888-866-9010 or write to John at chronicriff.com. You can follow us on Tumblr, tweet us on Twitter, check into the network on GetGlue, watch the classics on Funny or Die, catch us on Stitcher Radio, give us a thumbs up, or leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make through the store supports the Chronic Rift. Look for the link in our show notes. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. This is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the theater. Geez, go off into the forest all by yourself. You find yourself in this abandoned building where, ooh, it's kind of spooky, but nothing wrong could happen, right? And all of a sudden, rah, there it is, eat you, ah! I mean, don't these teenagers ever watch horror films? Jeez.
That's a wrap!